Hello, good evening, and welcome, guys, to episode 20 of Crossroads in Boxing with myself, CJ Spurt, and my main man at the top next to me, Eric ERF, and down there we've got Ricky, the Hands of Stone. Evening, lads, how we doing?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. Excited for tonight's show, to be honest. Very excited.
Very excited stuff. Ricky, you excited, mate?
Yeah, I am all good and I am over the moon.
We've got absolutely loads of boxing to talk about tonight. I've literally got like 2 pages full of everyone there. And just a quick one at the start there before we go to his advertising break there. Just obviously tribute to Georgia O'Connor, who sadly passed away. So everyone at iBoxingHub is touched and sends regards to her family, her friends, and everyone else that is affected. We're back. How we doing?
We're back. Episode 20, big show today. Big show, boys. Like CJ said, plenty of boxing to talk about. We've got this weekend's cards. We've got the homecoming of Terri Harper and Maxi Hughes in the Donny show on Friday. And then we've got on the Saturday, we've got Josh Taylor versus Esserman. Also, there's been a few fight announcements come through. We've got Savannah Marshall versus Shadeja Green. Chantal Cameron back in action. She's facing Jessica Kamara. Ramla Lee's back in action as well. Ramla Ali, is back in action. So plenty to talk about. Ricky, how are you doing?
Yeah, I am good, mate. Can you hear me clearly?
Loud and clear, boss. Loud and clear.
Loud and clear. One AirPods have decided to die.
Should we give Ricky the honour, Eric, of telling everyone who our special guest is?
Yeah, go on then, Ricky.
We haven't announced it. Go on, Rick.
Yeah, we haven't announced it fully.
Right. We have with us in the studio from around about 8:30ish, the voice of boxing himself, the man, the myth, the legend, Adam Smith. And I am excited.
Very excited for this one.
It's a bit of a fanboy sort of moment, isn't it? And I'd be lying if I wouldn't tell everyone who's watching or who's going to watch in the future that I was nervous to think that I'm going to be sort of doing the job of Adam Smith's job of commentating or asking questions or something like that. It's a bit of it's quite a task, really, isn't it, when you think of it like that?
Yeah, it really is. But like I said, listen, this is the business we want to get into, so we better get used to talking to these people and interviewing them. So I'm really excited. Like you said, CJ, I'm nervous, but this is like a full circle moment because commentary is one thing I want to do, and I'm sort of doing a little bit of it at the watch parties and stuff like that. So being able to speak to Adam and just ask him a few questions will be absolutely brilliant. We're trying to, at the moment, whilst we're messing about, I'm trying to get on to Twitter, but Twitter isn't allowing me to stream for some reason.
Playing ball, is it?
It's not playing ball for some reason. But we are on YouTube, as usual. So we've got a few comments straight away. We've got Mandy saying, hello, guys, looking forward to the show.
Must be a bad downstairs.
Listen, we've made it to Turkey. I'm good. We've got views from Turkey.
Mr. Worldwide, baby. Mr. Worldwide.
Ricky's
mum in the house. Get in there, Lisa.
Come on.
Oh my God, I love Adam. It's Leonardo. Go on, boys.
That's our Leo.
All right,
Do you
top
want
man,
to
how are you, mate? I hope you're well. What else we got coming in?
What else we got on the slate? We can start off with I obviously Dave Allen's been doing a few interviews. I've seen him saying that he now we had obviously a debate on Tuesday where Abbas was saying what's Dave looking for? Is it a world title? Or does he want the big names? And I was of the opinion that Dave wanted that, not world title, British title, sorry. I was of that opinion that Dave would want that British title. That's something he was chasing. But after the show, I was on Twitter and I seen a clip where Dave was doing an interview and he said that he don't really care. He just wants to fight big names because at the end of your career, when you're done, when you're long gone, people look back and say, "Oh, he fought him," or "He fought him." So that option, what Abbas was talking about, over Dillian White, maybe second fight, or any bigger, any sort of name in the heavyweight division, Dave might take it.
Hopefully as well, because I mean, obviously that was on our Tuesday show, discussing everything that went on over the weekend with his big fight with Johnny Fisher. We're all in the same agreement that, you know, when he's in the right mind frame, when he's trained, when he's had a good camp, when he's got the right team behind him, Dave Allen's a force to be reckoned with at this level, domestic level. He's dangerous. He's dangerous for any single heavyweight we've got, or around the world, as long as it's set at this level. Not jumping straight into massive fights or fights he's not ready for, not trained for, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Mike, I think Ricky alluded to it when last week when we were doing our picks about how many times, or was it you, CJ? How many times has Dave let us down? Where you're thinking finally like, no, was it you? Was it you? Yeah.
Let down.
Yeah.
You made that sound really bad,
Eric. No, I didn't mean it in a bad way. But what I'm saying is, there's been times where we're like, right, Dave's going to do it. I remember the Lenroy Thomas fights. Both of those fights, yeah. I was like, yes, Dave is finally going to do it. Even the Price fight as well. I was thinking, come on, Dave. And then you're like, oh, come on. So I can understand the sentiment of Dave sort of let us down a couple of times where we thought this was the time for him to step up. But against Fisher, he's done it, and hopefully he's at this time in his life, not even his career, his life, where he's settled down and he can concentrate on training. And actually, when he does sign for a fight, he does train. He does do the hard bits in the gym.
Absolutely.
CJ,
I'm fine. I'll do just quickly. I'll do this now while Ez is on. Obviously, your dad's on, Rick. Leo, I think you are the most talented boxer. Keep doing what you're doing, mate. And I have no doubt in my mind, us three will probably be commentating on your world title fight in the future.
All
right. Yeah, we'll be interviewing you as well. Don't worry, but that'll come sooner anyway. That'll come sooner than you think.
That's it.
What does everyone think of the fights we've got coming up this weekend? And like, I know you've just mentioned a load extra on top, Eric, but I would just quickly on phone to Ricky then. Got some massive fights, Ricky, coming up, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. We've got 2 cards. I mean, I did the boxing league, and I wrote out just the Terri Harper card, and then I was like literally on like Facebook looking on, I think it was Frank Warren. It posted up a picture of Taylor and Esserman, and I was like, oh shit, that's this weekend as well. So I was like, so then I went back to drawing board. I had to like redo a whole new fight card for that as well. But when I look into the Josh Taylor one, and that's one that I've got sort of noted out first, I'm pretty excited for it. Like Josh Taylor versus Esserman, it's quite a good fight. I think Taylor's coming off of like 2 like back-to-back defeats against Catterall and is it Teo Lopez? Someone like that was his last 2 fights anyway. So for me, it's like 34th, his mid-30s now. Is it his last chance to stay relevant and stay at the top of where he wants to be? And Esserman, he's on a 2-fight win streak against 2 10-0 fighters. Ben Vaughan, Owen Cooper, I think, who just beat Congo, and I think Esmer's beat Congo before. He was beaten by Harry Scarf, one of those guys. They're his most like relatable opponent. So it's like, this is a big step up for Esselman as well, who's also is not that much younger, or if not older than Taylor. I think it's a good, interesting fight. I think Taylor is the favourite for me. We all know Taylor's pedigree and caliber. I think it's going to be too much for Esselman, and I think Taylor on the night will get the job done. But what do you think, boys?
Yeah, the inactivity of Taylor is worrying. That's when, obviously, the situation with Jack happened, the first fight, and then he had so long out of the ring. That fight got rescheduled, 2 or 3 times that fight ended up getting rescheduled due to injuries and whatnot. So Taylor's been out for a long time. Even after the Teo fight, he's not fought since then. I think, when was that? 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, maybe?
A while ago now,
a while ago since Teo fought him. So, yeah, because Teo's fought a couple of times since then, I'm sure of it.
Taylor had that Catwell rematch, didn't he?
That was it. Yeah, the Catwell rematch. Yes. Some
people thought Taylor actually won that fight, but lost that fight. This is what some people think. I'm not saying he did or didn't, because I haven't actually seen or scored the fight. This is what I've read. Before you kick off.
Kind of a bitch, isn't it?
But one of those where people thought.
Now I remember, Ricky, as you said that the first Catwell versus Taylor fight, that will be our next rewatch, I think. I think that'll be I think that one of our rewatch series. I think that one we need to rescore, because that one was highly, highly controversial.
Number one,
number one, definitely. Number 2 wasn't controversial at all in my eyes. I don't know where Bob Arum got. He must have been chewing on some extra gummies that day.
Eric has spoken. Number 2 is not controversial. That's it. Done.
It's done. That's it.
Yeah, I've not even seen the fight, so I'm only going off the comments I saw for that one. But I tell you what fight I'm looking forward to is this McGregor and Collins fight, Nathaniel Collins, because this, I think they're both 2 big hitters. McGregor, I've got here, was on a 3-fight win streak. Last out when he defeated Isaac Lowe. Collins is unbeaten in 16, but it's a big step up against McGregor. He fought recently in February against that Darwin Martinez, who is also the guy that fought Nico Levar the other weekend, and he's fighting that Edward Hardy tomorrow. So he's been quite an active journeyman. I'm excited for that fight. I think that's going to be like a cracker. You've also got Moses Itama. I never call him Moises.
Moses Itama. This is. What do you think of Moses Itama, CJ?
Well, I was going to jump in after Ricky and say, and the one I'm looking forward to is Moses Itama, because the build up to him, the hype to him, and I'm just waiting to see what it's all about, really. I don't actually think Balogun's going to be the performance we're looking for, if that makes sense, in terms of what he can do, what he can't do. But we'll see him again. I'm sure we'll see him heavy-handed. He'll start fast, and we'll probably see another lightning knockout from him. And then Eric will ask me again, and I'll say again, he's just not been tested enough from me yet.
The thing is, as well, it's like he's fighting against people that have got winning records. Like, they are really trying to fast track this guy, and he's only 20. Is he 22? Something like. He's only young, isn't he? So they're really, really trying to push him on. I like him. I like what I see so far. I like the caliber opponents he's getting. Like, they're not too tested, but they're still good opponents that are wanting to win. But one of the guys that's also on the undercard is one I'm really looking forward to watching is Luke McCormack, the twin brother to Pat. So I used to watch these guys. I don't know if you remember on Box Nation years ago. They used to have the British Lionhearts. They used to have the tournaments, amateur tournaments. But like, I used to watch those guys on there all the time. So I'm looking forward to seeing Luke's career unfold. He's only had 3 fights. He's been active enough, but he's 29, so he's going to probably want to be somebody that's going to want in fast tracking a little bit more, because he probably will run out of time at some point. But some cracking fights on there, boys. I think it's quite a good card. Hydro Arena, Glasgow, it's always a banging atmosphere there as well. So I think there'll be a good night of boxing, that one, and probably a few stoppages on there as well.
We've got some brilliant female fights as well, guys. Obviously, we all three of us massive supporter and massive pusher of female boxing. Tyson Gallagher and Eb Jones, that is going to be a banger of a match. That is going to be a really, really, really great bout, I think. And then we've got the close to home, obviously. We've got Ellie Helliwell and Stevie Levy. It could be fireworks. Although you never know with Stevie what she's going to do or say. That's probably the worrying thing. You don't know what she's going to say. I think that could be a real show stealer as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. It seems very heated in the build up for it. They have a bit of bite about each other. For this female fights, you don't see there's not many fighters that go out there just to box. You always see it. You mostly see a tear up in the female fights. So I'm really looking forward to that one. Hopefully it's not. What have we got? When these cards start, that's on the Donny card. I think that'll be early on in the night.
You've got. It's got quite a big card, to be fair. When you go on BoxRec, I mean, it's a decent length of a card. I also want to shout out, because there's a couple of boxes on here. Edward Hardy, who's 3-0. You've got Roadman, Jake Smith, and you've got Reece Mould, all from Highfields ABC. That's where when I was Leo's age, that's where I was training. So big shout out to those guys on the Doncaster show as well. I'm looking forward to that. Ellie Helliwell, 6-0, awkward southpaw, against Stevie Levy. Both have fought and beaten the girl that Casey's making her debut against, in that Becky Ferguson. So I am looking forward to that one with Ellie Helliwell. I think she's a good boxer, to be fair. She's very awkward. She's very stylistic, isn't she, CJ? She's got a very good ring IQ. She's
a fantastic boxer. Been around, spent a lot of time with her in the gym in regards to seeing Jason Cunningham training her, watching him on the pads with her, watching him just talk like plans through with her. She's got a lot of charisma as well. She's her own character. She will she brings her own game to the boxing. You know what I mean? She's her own flavour. It should be a really good fight. That it should actually be a real good tear. And like you said, there's been a bit of needle between them. They're obviously local. So we'll just have to see on the night.
Fire in the bill, isn't there? She's got a great six-pack there as
well. Is Stevie managed by Dave still? Is she still managed by Dave?
I think so. I wouldn't like to comment 1,000,000% with it, but I think so.
Yeah.
I'll tell you as well, though. I've had the privilege of being backstage with Ebony Jones. She boxed on the night. I was actually in the away corner doing house second. She was brilliant. Yeah, I think she's got a lot of promise for the future. And then I've had the privilege of seeing Tyson Gallagher sparring with Rihanna DeForo at Steffi's gym, and wow, there was some really good rounds in there. So yeah, that's another. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic fight.
This one as well. This one is like a real 50-50 fight for me. Like, they both got similar records. Gallagher's beaten more opponents with winning records, but Ebony's still in the climb. And she's also gone 10 rounds more, so that might be the only advantage I can see for Gallagher. But Ebony Jones is, I really like and I rate her. I think she's definitely worth watching for the future. Another one on the undercard is our own Jimmy Joe Flint as well. We all know Jimmy Joe. I've been at Hill Sprints with Jimmy Joe, seen him spar. I'm excited for this fight, and obviously he's the man that took Campbell Hatton's O. So I'm excited for this one. We saw him. Go on.
No, I'm saying there's that sweet picture of the uppercut that he couldn't miss with against Campbell. It's a big night for Jimmy Joe. I think after that first win against Campbell, his career sort of should have gone the kind of way Padley's did, you know, when he got that opportunity. I know Campbell's not a massive name per se, but he's known to the people. So when Jimmy won that first fight, the rematch for me made sense for him. It never made any sense for Campbell, and I never understood why they took it. But after they took it and he won, his career still sort of failed. And even the second fight was on a GBM show. It wasn't on a big show. Or was it on a Matchroom show? A small hall Matchroom show.
Wait, Dalton. Oh, that
Yeah,
first one,
it was. Yes, it was Dalton. Yeah.
So he fought Chris Boyd, didn't he, after the first Hatton fight? He suffered a cut, and he did suffer a split decision loss, which I thought he was unfortunate in.
I was in corner
now,
that night.
Were you?
Yeah, I was assisting with it. Yeah, it was a nasty cut. To be fair, it was not necessarily in terms of appearance and some of the ones you see, but it was constantly working on it in between the rounds. And Chris Boyd, from Scotland, he was a tough and very awkward opponent. It wasn't a good bout to watch. It was a real where the styles don't meet, if that makes sense.
And I thought Flint was unfortunate because after the cut, obviously you could tell it was bothering, you could tell it was getting in his vision. So it was just, but luckily he's getting a chance now to fight for that title again because he's fighting for the same title against Lemuse. I think he beats this Lemuse. I don't want to discredit him, but I don't really know much about him. I was going through his record, and he's not really fought of anyone known to me, and that's all I could pick up from that. I didn't watch any videos. I feel like Jimmy Joe's fought the more potentially higher caliber of opponent, but I could be being biased because I know him. He's from the local. I know who he's fought, so it might just be biasness, English biasness. But I don't know what your guys' thoughts on that. But I think Flint's the favourite for that one.
Yeah. Before I go, CJ, do you want to just get to chat? We've got a few comments in there, and I'll stick them up.
Yep, pull them up for me, brother. To be fair, the one on screen, Becky Labour, well done on getting this big interview going up in the world, guys. Thank you very much for that.
Appreciate it.
We feel like we're going up in the world with that,
Yeah.
We'll be buying his nana a house when he becomes famous.
Exactly.
I'll be top of business.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll do that.
Zach King, that's my mate. Evening, boys. Been a while, yeah.
Evening, Zach.
It has
too
long. Zach will be joining the boxing league as well. He's just going to send me his picks, and I'll post it for him. What else we got?
Thanks, Mo. Thanks for that.
Exact. Dad, you're smashing this. Thank you.
Hey, Zach. Hope you well, pal.
A little Zach attack. One of many.
Big up. Abba says,
we got the views up.
I wondered where all these views came from. Abbas says, yes, boys, watching while I was at the gym. Yeah, big up, Abbas.
Big up, Abbas.
Thank you, Abbas. Thank you, brother.
What else we got?
My 8-pack is better than that.
Honestly, you could grate cheese off of our Leo 6-pack. It's unreal. It is unreal. I have made cheddar off of that thing. Like, fair play to the
what else we got? We've got Mandy says, go on, CJ. We'll pull up.
I ain't got that one on screen yet, brother. Sorry, mine's a bit slow on this. Dave made us so proud this last week. Bless him. He does have the power.
Can everyone hear?
Yeah, I can hear you, brother.
Yeah, you're fine, mate.
Everything just glitched for a second. Everything just glitched. I don't know why. All right.
I try not to touch anything.
What else we got?
I keep my hands so I don't touch anything.
We've got Lisa says, well said, boys. Bigging up the ladies fighters. Yeah, we do. We enjoy the female fighters, especially now. There's a lot going on. Like I said earlier, at the beginning of the show, MVP has the Katie versus Serrano trilogy, and they've just announced some big fights on there. I'll try and get the image up for that in a little while. Big up to Trey. Big up to the Yorkshire boys. I think we'll go back to the Jimmy Joe fight. Yeah, I'm the same with you. Well, we'll wait a minute before we give my opinion because we have Adam and Rico with us right now. So we'll just get them in.
Go.
Here we go. And we're all in, I think. Here we go. Evening, gents. How we doing, Rico? Adam, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate this. This is
How you doing,
a
guys? Nice to
special
see
moment
you.
for all three of us.
Well, just really quickly, to be honest with you, I am not going to spoil the shine on IBH North, our northern sector over there at IBH, headed up by Eric. Adam, I just wanted to obviously come on really quickly and say, I hope you're well, and you are an incredible force in boxing as a whole, and an inspiration for myself and so many others. And I'd like to dedicate this show, and also I have a live show with Caroline Dubois straight after this, to Georgia O'Connor, an incredibly beautiful human being. And yeah, thank you guys so much. I'm actually going to go, but I just wanted to say hello to Adam because Adam is my brother. Adam's my guy. Can't have Adam on the show and not have me say hello to my brother over here. So yeah, God bless you guys, man. And Adam, I'll see you a little bit later.
No, we appreciate that, Rico. Adam, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
Hi, yeah, tough day. I was pretty close to Georgia, and yeah, very sad news. We went back quite a way. I remember her as an amateur, and she turned pro with Boxer when I was at Sky, and yeah, I got to know her quite well. And then obviously in recent months with her cancer diagnosis, we obviously shared a great deal because of what I went through, and yeah, it was it's news that's pretty rocked me. I was with her a few weeks ago. I was talking to her just last week, and yeah, it's very sad. She was a great woman, and we're going to miss her a huge amount. So yeah, it's been a tough day. I've been at the weigh-in for the big GBM show here in Doncaster tomorrow. So we've got a huge show tomorrow night, huge show in Glasgow on Saturday night. So a lot of boxing going on, and I know Georgia would have wanted the show to continue, so to speak, but yeah, very sad day.
Adam, we've actually dedicated this show to Georgia. I did create a 10-second count for her, if you wouldn't mind us playing it now, just obviously after you've just done your speech about it. Is that okay?
Yeah, play it.
Yeah, I just wanted to play that for you. Obviously, we know this is going to be a tough time for you. What you've been through yourself, being back in boxing. For me, I think when me and CJ first met, we was talking when I think you'd signed with GBM at that point, and I was saying like it's so good to see Adam Smith because for me, you are the voice of British boxing. Sorry, you are the voice of British boxing. For when I first started watching boxing, hearing your commentary, hearing those big moments, the lift off for AJ still rings in my ears when I hear that. Even the Chris Eubank Senior, when he arrived, and your commentary on that whole moment, it absolutely made that moment so much better in my eyes. Anyway.
Bless you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I mean, I just love I what I do. I'm really grateful to have been part of boxing for such a long time, and you know, when I was a kid, that's all I wanted to do was to be a commentator, and to sort of live that dream and still do it today, you know, even after the cancer and leaving Sky and you know, now finding a home in a DAZN, which has got so much great content coming up, and you know, with Frank and Eddie together and GBM tomorrow night, for example, it's just thick and fast. And yeah, I'm just I love what I do. I love fighters. Georgia, a prime example. You know, you get close to them, and it's tough, right? It's really hard when you get, you know, difficult days, and it's amazing when you get fantastic days. And it's a sport full of life and death, and that's, you know, that's the extremes, really. And I've had an incredibly privileged journey of meeting some unbelievable fighters along the way, and you know, whether they're four round level, they're world champions, journeymen, it doesn't matter to me. Everyone that gets in that ring is a hero or a heroine, and yeah, I'm just very, very grateful to have a mic back in my hand. You know, it's what I love doing. It's where I feel at home, and yeah, thank you for the kind words. I just love what I do, and things like the Eubank moments, you know, they're just incredible. You know, the incredible twists and turns in this sport, right? It's a sport full of stories and tales and characters, and yeah, we're privileged to be there, and yeah, I'm loving working with Darren and Barry and the DAZN team now. I love my time at Sky, and yeah, I've had hard times as well with the cancer, and you know, I'm very, very grateful to the doctors that got me through that, and yeah, it's just lovely to be on shows like this. I'm really, thank you for having me.
I think I speak for us all. I'll just quickly jump in and say it's an honour for all three of us to have you on. You really are like a real big deal to us. I'm glad Eric got to say the lift off for AJ, because I was on the phone to Ricky just before saying I've got to mention that because it's like the best moment going. All the time.
What, go on, Ricky. I know you've got some questions.
Hey, Ricky.
Yeah. Hi, mate. For me, like, you've got probably the greatest job in boxing, like one of the best. Like, how did you come about? How did you get into it?
Do you know what? I'm going to answer that question, but you're going to have to give me 20 seconds because I just got a bit of food delivered because I needed a bit of room service. I'm just going to just chat amongst yourselves for 20 seconds. I'm coming back.
Not
okay,
a problem. Not a problem at all.
Another moment quickly. Do you remember when Luis Ortiz boxed Wilder? And is it where I can't remember if it was when Ortiz caught Wilder or when Wilder then caught Ortiz back, and Adam Smith was like, King Kong is going down. It's something like that. That was a big one.
We've got a few comments. We'll just go to the comments till Adam gets back in. We've got Trey says, great to see the legend himself. Absolutely, Trey. Boxing has missed you. 100%. Lisa says, I think some of these comments I'll put up when Adam's back. Shy from the 505. Thank you so much, Shy. This is who I do my commentary for.
Is that when you go down there, Ed? Right? Cool.
Yeah. The 505 watch parties. That is where I get to have my fun on the mic. And try to be like Mr. Adam Smith himself, but I'm sure one day I'll get there.
You're nowhere near as cool, Eric. Sorry.
Hey guys, sorry about that. I've got to. Otherwise, we've been back to back a bit today, and I haven't had a chance to eat, so I just got.
Not a problem at all. No problem at all.
Sorry, Ricky. You're asking. Say again.
How did you get into commentary?
Yeah, it's a good question. Like, it's honestly, my parents will tell you the same thing. It's what I've wanted to do since I was 9-10 years old. I was never any good at sport, but I loved it. You know, I was always second, third football teams and playing a bit of tennis and a bit of cricket and sort of 12th man in the cricket, and not very good at rugby. But I just love sport, and I fell in love with all sorts of sport: tennis, football. I'm a big Liverpool fan, boxing, everything. And I just used to turn the TV down and commentate, whether it was the Formula One, the horse racing, the boxing. It didn't matter really, any sport. And I think boxing wise, like Tommy Hearns, the fight that got me into boxing was Hagler and Hearns. And I love Tommy Hearns because of his gold trunks and because of the Kronk gym, and the fact that, yeah, he was just so exciting to watch. So I was absolutely devastated when he lost to Hagler. And I remember crying, and I was 13 at the time, maybe. And then Barry McGuigan was a big hero, so I managed to get to Loftus Road when he fought Pedrosa, and then I went through school. Like, all I wanted to do was be a commentator, a sports commentator, whether it was boxing or whatever. I just wanted to be a commentator, and and friends of mine went into different professions and in London, and I just didn't. I wanted to do TV. I went to university. I studied TV, drama, and film at uni. I worked a bit in news when I got out. I worked in America at CNN. I worked at ITN, and then I applied for a job at Sky when Sky was in its sort of infancy, maybe. Sort of 2 or 3 years, the Premier League had been a focus, and boxing was, they had bits of boxing at Sky. It was 94, and Chris Eubank Senior was about to undertake a world tour, and I loved Eubank. I loved all his theatrics, and I went for an interview at Sky, and they said to me, there was a job as a junior, production junior, and they said to me, "What sport do you like?" And I said, "I love football, I love tennis, I love darts, I love snooker, I love boxing." And they said, "Whoa, stop there." And they said, "Boxing?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "What do you like about boxing?" I said, "I just love the drama, I love all of that." And they said, "Well, it's interesting, we're about to launch the Eubank World Tour, and we're gonna really concentrate and focus on boxing." So they put me on boxing, and there was only one other guy on the team, and we just sort of started from there. And within 5 minutes, I'd sort of fallen in love with it. I was in my early 20s, and Barry McGuigan joined fairly quickly, and I had to go around the country with him for a year, working with him as he interviewed fighters. And I was just like, wow, this is unbelievable. And I'm working with one of my heroes, and it just went from there, really. So I became a reporter, and then like a producer behind the scenes, and then eventually a commentator. And as I said, it was what I wanted to do, and I think boxing for me was everything. I was into theatre and drama as a kid as well, and I think it was like sport and theatre, like mixed, and I think that for me was fantastic. And I got to sort of fall in love with the fighters, and I just went around the world and was so fortunate. It was the sort of back end of the Lennox Lewis, Mike Tyson, Riddick Bowe, Evander Holyfield sort of era. Fighters like Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather, and Roy Jones, and Shane Mosley were all coming through. Miguel Cotto, Diego Corrales, like just wonderful, wonderful fighters to be around. And then in Britain, it was the Eubank, Collins, Ben, Bruno, Naz coming through, Ricky Hatton coming through, Joe Calzaghe, etc., etc. And I just sort of rode with it, and yeah, absolutely loved every minute, especially traveling around and spending time in camp with these guys, and then I was lucky enough to get the position of head of boxing at Sky in 2010, and I worked with Eddie Hearn for many years, and we had a great double act, and it was great fun. And Matchroom became a real force in boxing, and I'd worked with Frank for 15 years, Eddie for 10, so it was great. I worked with two of the greatest promoters, and a bit with Bob Arum and Don King as well in the States. And yeah, it was I just got to sort of see boxing through the whole sort of epicenter of it, and I just loved it. And I think I just always have had a love for storytelling and for fighters, and that just sort of blended together, and Sky were building, and we went with it. We had a huge amount of pay-per-view fights, and that was great fun because it was building up to an event. And yeah, I just loved it. And I guess I still do. You know, I'm still, as I said, privileged to be in a position where I get to watch boxing and talk about it. And yeah, and I love the drama of it all. But I think it's the fighters. And there's been some tough times. You know, James Murray dying was really horrendous for me in 1995. You know, I was very close to walking away, even almost before I began. When he died, I'd spent some time with him before the fight, and that was really horrible. Spencer Oliver and Paul Ingle were really difficult nights. Yeah, there were some tough times, but yeah, it was a sport. I got to know families, I got to know the fighters, I got to sort of join the journeys. I went down memory lane in Winkerbank yesterday, actually, with the Ingalls and about Naz, and that was great times. I spent a lot of time in Sheffield in the 90s with Naz and Johnny and Ryan and all that crowd, and yeah, big nights in Manchester with Billy Graham's camp, Ricky and Anthony Farnell and Jamie Moore and Michael Gomez and all those sort of fighters. And yeah, it was I had a lot of great memories, and I'm very, very lucky to have done what I've always wanted to do. And yeah, it's been great. And women's boxing as well. I mean, it's not really women's boxing anymore, it's just boxing. But I was a big, when Jane Couch first came to us at Sky and said, you've got to take women's boxing, I was like, you know, I'll be honest, you know, and I said to Jane, look, really? I mean, you know, who are you fighting? What's it all about? And then, you know, I was part of the Katie Taylor. I loved Katie Taylor and as an amateur, and when she won the gold in 2012, it became a serious, and Nicola Adams, it became a serious sort of possibility that maybe the women would go pro properly, and that's been a big part of my life as well, getting to know the amazing women. Terri Harper defends her world lightweight title tomorrow. You know, I'm very close to Katie, to Terri, to Tasha, to Savannah. You know, I'm very proud of the women that have come through, so that's a big thing for me as well. But yeah, listen, I'm a lucky boy to be doing what I love and to have done it for forever. And my friends tease me now. You know, they say you're the only person that did what you said you'd do, and I've worked very, very hard in many ways. Like, I've worked really hard. But I've never done a day's work in my life, if that makes sense.
I like that.
And we're all really jealous, just so you know.
very, very, very jealous.
Yeah. Just speaking on the females, Adam. Caroline Dubois was actually my first ever interview. Starting this crazy boxing journey, doing media and stuff like that. So I was lucky to Rico managed to pull some strings, like he's managed to pull some strings here with you, Caroline, to get Caroline on an interview. She's one of my favourite female fighters, Caroline, and obviously she's looking for a fight with Terri, who's from Doncaster, where myself and Ricky and CJ are from. So it's a tough one for us. But what do you make of that fight, those two girls?
Do you know, it's as tough for me. I'm very, very close to both of them, so it's hard. But you know, it's business too. I'm very close to Adam Azim and Dalton Smith, and you know that fight's going to happen at some stage. And it's, you know, it's the respect that they all have for each other, and even when there's a bit of chit chat from either side, and there's a, you know, I've been through bad blood especially with people like Eric Morales and Marco Antonio Barrera. You know, that sort of feud went back to when they played football as kids, and that lasted for so long. It took their wives to sort of sort them out, and Froch and Groves and Hay and Bellew. You know, there's been huge amounts of sort of bitterness, but yeah, there's a little bit of edge between Terri and Caroline, and I quite like that. You know, Terri is a sweetheart. She's one of the nicest people in boxing, but I love Caroline. I think I've really, really like when Ben Shalom first said to me, "Look, we're gonna work with Caroline," and I'm like, she would be, along with Lauren and Ben Whitaker, you know, first pick from those Olympians in Tokyo. I think Caroline's a fantastic fighter. I think Shane McGuigan gets involved with terrific talent and molds them really well, and I think she's a superstar. And you know, Terri's a great fighter too, a 3-weight champion. It's just a brilliant battle, and if Terri can get through Natalie Zimmerman tomorrow night, which obviously she should do based on levels, but you never know in boxing. But if she gets through that, then I'd love to see that fight. I'd love to see that fight. And, it could be a passing of the torch. Caroline could be, that it could be that fight that she needs. But I think Terri's a very, very good fighter, and she's found some real form again. She's had some battle back from a couple of defeats and those draws as well. And she's a really good fighter and a tough character. And I think she's settled down in this lightweight division. I think she's found her home at 9-9, and that's a tough fight for both of them. But it's a fight that's got to be made. And I think 2025. I said it last year, I think 2025 could be one of the best years we've ever had in boxing. I think some of these huge fights are being made. We're looking forward to having Beterbiev and Bivol again as a trilogy. I think Fury and Joshua is going to happen, if not later this year, then next year. But I think these fights are there, and Turki Al-Sheikh has turned boxing on its head. He's making the possible or the impossible become possible. Frank and Eddie are working together. I think that we're very lucky as fight fans to be treated to these fights, and there's no reason why Terri and Caroline can't have a super fight come the summer or early in the autumn. And it'd be a very difficult one to commentate on. It's one that maybe I'd like to just sit and watch, because it's I'm very close to the pair of them. I wouldn't, it's tough. And that is one of the hardest parts of the job is, you pick up the mic and you can't be biased. I'm very close to Ed Hardy, the farm boy from Doncaster, but it doesn't mean when I pick up the mic tomorrow night I can't be in any way biased. It's got to be, you call it as you see it. If he gets beat, he gets beat, and that's what boxing's about. But you do get close to fighters, and that's tough when you know them. And Caroline and Terri are two fantastic female fighters, and Terri's already become a legend of the sport, and I'm sure Caroline will as well.
Yeah, for sure. There's a comment here I just wanted to read out to you, Adam. It's from Abbas, who's a member of iBoxingHub. He says, "Tell Adam, please tell Adam that he delivered one of the greatest pieces of commentary on Kell Brook's entrance on the hardest days of boxing fan, on the hardest days of boxing fan for him as his Amir Khan fan. I speak now."
Oh, I think the ring walk was all about the piano that night. Having a live piano. It was. There's been some electric atmospheres in British boxing down the years. Hatton's, Hugh, Golovkin Brook actually was a fantastic one at the O2. But that was a special night in Manchester. I think that the two of them, we know, should have fought probably 2 or 3 times before they did. And yes, it was the end of Amir's career, and Kell won fairly one-sidedly, and it was a shame, because I think everyone at Sky wanted a rematch, and we expected to have a closer fight. But Kell was brilliant that night, especially with the argument with the gloves as well. That was a nightmare. I had the head of Sky Sports, Jonathan Lisht, at ringside, and he was saying to me, when's the fight happening? And I was getting in my headphones from Ed Robinson, the head of boxing, the producer. I had him saying, "You got to get back and try and sort out this mess backstage." So I had to get back, and Kell was fuming, and Amir was threatening to. It was all happening. So look, I'm just glad they got in the ring that night. To be honest, Kell came in without gloves. You couldn't make it up. But it was that ring walk was pretty special because of the. I loved his ring walk was fantastic, wasn't it, Kell Brooks? And the that tune that went with him, and the piano that night made it. So very kind words, but it was the piano that made that ring walk and the atmosphere.
Yeah, Kell Brook's ring walk is my all-time favorite ring walk. That song, just all of the lights, the instrumentals, as soon as it comes on. When I've been to shows, when Sky and Eddie was doing a lot of shows in Hull for Luke Campbell, I remember it being on Luke Campbell versus Tommy Coyle undercard. I'm sure it was that fight. Anyway, it came on then. It was unbelievable. Live, it's unbelievable. Watching it on TV is unbelievable. For me, it will always be the best walkout tune. But Ben Eubank's walkout against Ben comes very close. Very close.
That WrestleMania-esque walkout.
What was you thinking in that moment, Adam? Just a quick one on that. What was you thinking, feeling in that moment? Just seeing, did you have a heads up that Senior was gonna be there, or did you just see him? So that was just raw emotion we got from the get-go when you saw him step out.
I'm a fan. And as I said already, you know, Senior was one of my heroes. You know, maybe don't tell Nigel that. No, Nigel. Funnily enough, when I got to work with him, I prefer working with Nigel. But Chris was, yeah, as a teenager, I liked Eubank because of the theatrics. I just loved. And he could fight obviously as well, but yeah, you know, I was more of a Eubank fan as a kid than I was a Ben fan. But yeah, I mean, with Connor and Nigel being so close, and you know, Nigel almost letting Connor sort of get on with his career with Tony Sims, but coming back when he sort of was needed for this big show, to not have Senior around Junior was really sad, I thought, and especially after everything they've been through as a family, with Sebastian, and you know, lovely guy who we tragically lost, and I, you know, Junior's, you know, a lot of people say, oh, Junior's, you know, he's not for them, but I really like Chris. I think he's a very smart guy. I think he's, you know, he knows what he's doing, and he was brilliant at the press conferences. But I think on the Thursday of Fight Week, when he talks about the pain of losing his brother and the pain of not speaking to his dad. And I think after everything his dad had said in the build-up, I thought there was no chance. I really genuinely didn't think he was going to turn up. And what happened was that the guys in DAZN, they knew they had a heads up that he was in the car, but they didn't tell us. So Darren, Barry, and I didn't know. So when the car door opened, all we were told was that Eubank Jr.'s arrived, and you know, give it the big sort of lift. And we said, here he is, here's Eubank, you know. And then the door opened, and that was like, wow. And I think I can still feel it's like the hairs on the back. It's just was one of those moments where we couldn't believe it. And I think Darren says something about, like, in WWE, you wouldn't. Yeah. It was something straight out of WWE. And yeah, I mean, that's just a genuine reaction to what was in front of us, and it was mad. And I loved it that he came out. They did the ring walk together, and it just, having the four of them there made it, and it made it complete. And then when we had the fight afterwards, which lived up or beyond the pre-fight hype, was just it was one of those great nights. And I was actually pretty, not angry, but I was pretty disappointed with some of the sort of bigger press, the national press, who had sort of tore into the fight as a bit of a circus, and the fact that it wasn't quite a world championship level. I thought that was really disrespectful to two fighters who, you know, they're sons of legends. They've got enough pressure on their shoulders anyway, and you know, they didn't need to get down and do what they did on that night. They were absolutely immense, and I thought it was a fantastic fight, where they just gave everything to the cause. Neither wanted to go out that ring being defeated, and in my eyes, neither did. I thought that they covered themselves in glory, and I thought it was a night that just unfolded as one of those great events that we'll remember forever. And I, yeah, so it wasn't a world title fight. It didn't need to be. It was Eubank Ben, and that's yeah, their names are etched in British history. And for the kids to dish up a fight that their fathers could be proud of, that was it for me. That was brilliant.
Yeah,
I managed to catch the back end of a bit of an interview. I think he was on TalkSport. It may have been a couple of months ago from now, where it said that you were offering your guidance to some younger fighters, to offer them, well, all your knowledge that you'll learn in boxing. Us three all come from sort of different angles, if you like, other than being massive boxing fans. There, I know Eric had always wanted to do sort of this media side and get into a show. Ricky got involved originally with the idea of just writing about the articles he's watched and how he's then seen fights. I'm doing corners. I got my pro license in seconds. I managed to be working with alongside Steffi Ball and Jason Cunningham over in Doncaster. With you offering your guidance to younger fighters, and obviously I can't imagine how busy you are. Could you ever see yourself being in the corner or anything like that, going further, actually training your own fighters?
Well, that's fantastic that you've all got to where you've got to, and it's brilliant that you're doing what you love, which is so important. And I think the fighters benefit from that, right? If you're really into it. I love seeing the likes of Jason Cunningham, who was a terrific fighter, and seeing him sort of. I was chatting to him at the weigh-in today, and he's got, I think, 3-4 fighters on tomorrow night, and they live and breathe it. And in many ways, training's even harder because if you're a fighter, you can at least control what you're doing, whereas standing in the corner or sitting in the corner, you're hoping that they listen to you and the tactics and all the rest of it. So yeah, I take my hat off to you to do that. Look, I don't want to ever be a manager. I don't want to be a trainer. That's not me. I'm a broadcaster, but I have an affinity for fighters. I have a love for fighters, and I love mentoring. So I did at Sky. We had a thing called the Sky Scholars, where we took a bunch of athletes. It was like an Olympic cycle, and we took a bunch of athletes, whether they were sprinters, swimmers, tennis players, boxers, and they were given a sort of mentor to guide them through. And they gave some stuff back to Sky, and we helped them with their training expenses, that sort of thing. So, and I mentored Savannah Marshall for 4 years at Sky, and I mentored a tennis player called Daniel Altmaier, who's a German tennis player who's battled through a lot of stuff and has ended up in the top sort of 70, 80 in the world, and is a great young man and a great player. And I've loved doing that. And that doesn't mean I haven't, that's not being paid. That's I'm doing it for the love of it. And I still keep up with Sav, obviously, and with Daniel. He's about to play in Paris, and he had a good run at the at Roland Garros a few years ago in lockdown, and he's a good player. He's beaten Yannick Sinner, he's beaten Alcaraz, he's beaten he's beaten a lot of good players, and he just needs a little bit of luck in one of the majors. But look, I'm just a fan of sports people. I'm just an admirer, and I think because I wasn't good enough to do anything, I think it makes me more respectful, more appreciative of what they do. So yeah, I would always love to help advise young fighters. I've worked with Summit Sports and helped Sophie Alish and Kyle Davis. Kyle's a great young light heavyweight from Stoke who's coming up through the small halls, and he's a name to watch out for. He's been Callum Simpson's main sparring partner for Callum's next fight, and so I've helped Kyle a bit. I've helped Adam Azim with some media stuff, and yeah, look, I'm there, right? I'm at the end of a phone to anyone that wants a little bit of help, and I also, because I think now I've been through my own battles, I was very lucky to survive my cancer, and so like that's made me more maybe more humble, I think, maybe more grateful for, and a different perspective, and I think that's why maybe now I sort of reach for the defeated fighters rather than the ones that have won. So like last week, for example, I've known Dave Allen forever, but last week I went into Johnny Fisher's dressing room afterwards, and I wanted to speak to him. I went into Lee Wood's dressing room the week before. Rather than rushing towards the winner, I'm more sort of, I want to be there for the sort of rainy days, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm quite close to Jordan Thompson, and when he lost to Jaya Pataya, I sort of noticed how everyone was sort of flocking towards Jai, and no one was thinking about, it was Jordan's first defeat, and that's a tough night, right? When you realize that maybe you're not possibly at the level you thought you might be, or for whatever reason you've had a really rocky night. But I still have that same respect for fighters that have been in those situations. With Dan and the tennis, he was the top, I think maybe one of the top under 19s in the world. and you know, expected to do what someone like Alcaraz or Sinner did, but he went through a lot of injuries and problems, and people forgot about him. And I think that, you know, that's where you really learn about someone, you know, through resilience. And I think that, you know, Johnny Fisher or whatever will come back stronger from a defeat, because that's where you learn. Look at Daniel Dubois. He's learned from what happened against Joe Joyce, what happened against Usyk. You know, he's learned, and look where he is now. And I think that you find a lot about somebody when they've gone through sort of rock bottoms, when you've gone through, you know, really tough times. So yeah, in a long-winded way, the answer to your question is that I would love to be there for any fighter that wants a little bit of advice or whatever. I haven't been in a ring, so I don't know how hard that is, but I've been around rings for my whole life, and I've been around fighters like Jim Watt, and Matthew Macklin, and Paulie Malignaggi, and Tony Bellew, and Carl Frampton, and Barry Jones, and Darren Barker, that have enough fighters that have been there that tell me what it's like. So yeah, if anyone wants a bit of guidance from a media point of view, or from, you know, just anything, I'm here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's fantastic. That I was going to. There's a couple of comments in here. I just wanted to read out for you, Adam. There's one that says, actually, Ricky's son is starting his boxing journey. Leo, he's starting his boxing journey right now.
He's 11 years
How
old.
old is he, Ricky?
He's 11 years old. He's had 2 skills bouts already. He had his first one just after he's turned 10. The kid's obsessed with the sport. So if you'd like to shout out him, please, any advice that you'd like to offer him as well.
Absolutely, well, it's fantastic. I mean, I don't know what his dad's going to be thinking of all this. It's a tough journey, father and son. So I wish you well with that. And I would tell you what I would say. I think the likes of, you know, your Joe and Enzo are pretty few and far between. I think that I think it's important as a dad. I'm a dad of 3. You know, I one of my kids went down to the boxing gym, and she did it for a while, and then it wasn't for her. But you know, I think it's all about handing over to the experts. I think that's really important. I would say, look, if you want to do it at 10 or 11, that's fantastic. Katie Taylor laced them up at 10, and she pretended to be a boy for 2-3 years. So that's how much she wanted to do it. I think it's about dedication. It's about passion. It's about wanting to do it more than anything. But you know, things change, and sometimes, you know, direction, and kids, teenagers, they go in different ways. And I think, you know, Ricky, it's all about just supporting from being, you know, don't try and live your dreams through them. I think it's a really good idea for you just to sort of offer encouragement, and if he really wants to do it, fantastic. I don't think all great fighters, you know, have to be 11 or 12 when they start, or have to be amazing amateurs, but I think it does help. I think it really does help when you're naturally used to boxing from a young age. You know, you look at Johnny Fisher, for example, who was a rugby player at university, or Fabio Wardley, and they've done amazingly well. Look at Fabio, you know, where he's come from having a handful of white collar fights. You know, he didn't even think about boxing until much later on, and that's tougher. You're learning on the job. So for those who start young, I think it's a real advantage. I think it's more natural, and I think that, yeah, if you can continue that you know, that passion and the dedication, and you want it enough, you need a lot of luck on the way as well. But I think it's great to want to do it that early. But I would just say enjoy it, and actually, it's a great life skill to dedicate yourself to something, to have structure, and it's a great discipline, and it keeps you on the straight and narrow. It's a wonderful thing to do, and you don't have to become a world champion. It teaches you a lot of life skills. You know, I was in the gym at Winker Bank. I spent a lot of my 20s early career at Sky in that gym with Brendan Ingle, or in the gym with Freddie Roach at the Wild Card, Billy Graham or Brian Hughes at the Collyhurst, and it wasn't just about training world champions. It was about giving youngsters a chance to to learn about themselves and build confidence and build respect. And Ryan Rhodes was saying to me yesterday, it was about going out into the world and saying your pleases and thank yous and having respect for other people. It wasn't just about what you did in the ring. So yeah, I'd say, look, good luck to him. I think it's fantastic that he wants to do it, and enjoy it. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But don't put too much pressure on him. It's a tough business. But if he's got a dream, go for it.
I love that, Rick.
Brilliant. Yeah, we'll love that. He's a big Adam Smith fan as well.
Adam, I don't want to keep you too long. Clearly, you've had your room service and your food's probably getting cold. But I am going to the show on tomorrow night. I will be there covering for iBoxingHub. So hopefully we can catch up there and meet in person. It'd be a pleasure if that could happen.
Eric, I love you. Come down ringside. It's going to be a fun night. I think we kick off about 5 o'clock, and Ed Hardy's coming on his tractor from the Margrange farm, so he's got his transport sorted. But yeah, look, it's going to be a great night. I mean, there's some fantastic fights on. Izzy's done brilliantly well in 3 years, having a stadium show, and DAZN have got a sort of bonus night tomorrow ahead of Glasgow. We're driving up, Andy Levada and I, the Voice of Boxing team. We're driving up to Glasgow first thing on Saturday morning. So it's a busy 48 hours for us. So yeah, I better rest my voice, have my little food and get some sleep. But guys, thank you for having me on, and you're doing a brilliant job. It's just terrific to see you do something that you love, and long may it continue. And I hope that I can come on again, and thank you for the love. I really appreciate it.
I've got one more quick question. One more quick one. One more. What did you order?
I ordered some chicken, and some salad. So yeah, so it's okay. The salad just don't worry about getting cold, but the chicken might be a little bit frosty by now, but we'll be okay. Normally, I had a big night out with Izzy yesterday. He treated me to some Turkish in Sheffield, so I ate a huge amount of food, and that kept me going for most of today. But I just need a bit of a refuel. So yeah. I need to rest my voice as well. I got 2 big nights ahead of me.
Thank you very much, Adam. I really appreciate you coming through, and we'll speak soon.
Cheers, guys. Take care.
Thank you.
God bless, mate.
So that was Adam Smith, everybody. Now we really appreciate that. Was a mad moment. I'm not gonna lie, boys. I enjoyed that. Really enjoyed that. I could sit and listen to it.
Live after that, Eric. When he went off, I was about to go like, fucking hell.
Oh, you should have done. Oh, mate. Honest to God.
Everyone who was in the comments, thank you everyone who's been with us viewing this. We really do appreciate it. We sit here and talk about boxing all day, to be quite honest with you, without a camera, but having people actually willing to listen to us, it is a great feeling. We can go through the card if you'd like, gents. I know we've gone over. Rico has got a show at an interview at 9:30, so we can quickly shoot through the card. Friday's card, if you'd like.
We've only got 2 fights to cover anyway, so
yeah.
Reece Mould, Louis Sylvester. Reece Mould, obviously being from Highfields and the Plant, used to train at both when I was younger.
Yes.
Now this one for me could steal the show, and I was like looking at it, and I was like, I know Louis Sylvester from Steffi Bull's gym when he used to coach there. CJ knows him. We used to watch him spar Jimmy Padley, good fighter, but for me, like knowing Reece, going to school with him, seeing him at the gym every day when I was younger. I'm looking forward to this one. I feel like Reece has been in with better caliber's opponents so far. Lee Wood, it was actually for me outboxing Lee Wood and beating Lee Wood at that time until the knockout, devastating knockout, by the way, if you haven't seen it. He's also fought Ryan Walsh, and I think that might be it. But he's been in there and he's been in some good fights, and he's had some good performances as well. Lewis, I think he stepped up against Sam Noakes at the one time and I don't know if he got stopped, but he's a good boxer.
Yeah.
He's a very good boxer. He's very cool. He's very calm. He's composed. He's got a good style.
He floats around the ring. He's a great mover. I've been privileged enough to watch him spar Padley a couple of times, and that was quality. He's a really nice lad as well. Believe now over training with Conor Coghill in Hull. If I'm right with that, I know that they're friends anyway. Obviously, Conor was managed under Steffi at the time. That'd be a really good fight. That. And because there's so much action going on, it's one of them that sort of slips under the radar a little bit.
Yeah.
Whereas that could like sort of co-main event something if you like, on a show. So yeah, don't miss out on that one. That will be a good fight, or it's got all the makings to be a good fight.
It's stylistically because Reese is quite entertaining, he's quite aggressive, and Lewis is on the back foot, so it is going to be a case of cat and mouse maybe. But then there's the main event. Oh no, go on. Go on.
Before you say that, this card is littered with fighters who aren't big punchers. So these fights are going to be exciting. These fights, I believe there will be action packed, just because I don't think there'll be many knockouts. There might be someone get caught, but I'm expecting these fights to be entertaining fights. There will be action in those fights. I don't think there'll be too many dull fights on the night. Go on, Ricky.
Yeah, so co-main event, we've got Maxie Hughes against Archie Sharp. Now, this is one where Hughes is on a 2-fight win streak. He's been in the ring with Zepeda. He's been in the ring with Kambosos Jr. He's beaten Ryan Walsh. He's beaten Kid Galahad and Liam Walsh. There's John O'Carroll as well, who put the sword to Scott Quigg, who, again, very good. He's had some good wins, and he's been in with some top talent. Obviously, he didn't beat Zepeda or Kambosos Jr., but, again, it's still the experiences. This one, for me, it's like Sharp's good. He's coming off a loss to Ryan Garner. It's just, is he going to have that? It's a big step up. Is he going to have that leveling quality there to compete with Maxie Hughes? It's a good fight, and Maxie Hughes is very entertaining. I'm looking forward to that one as well. To be fair, this card, like, to the boxing purists out there, it's a good card. Like, it's going to be some good fights.
It is a really good card. I think Maxie, experience wise, is head and shoulders above Archie Sharp. I think a level of opponent, even magnitude of events. CJ's just dipped out. That magnitude of events. Maxie's been there. He's been in there. He's seen it. I think Maxie's boxed at a higher level. I think Maxie is actually a very underrated boxer. I think he can hang with anyone. I think Maxie, for me, is fringe world level, where he could hang with quite a few of the world level guys. I don't think he beats them. But I think Maxie is way too good for Archie Sharp. Archie Sharp has been supposedly stepping up to fighting Shakur, and that when Shakur was at 126, I believe, or something like that, or 130 126. So Archie's been supposed to have stepped up a long time ago. I think a lot of his career, I don't know whether it's injury or what the situation is, hasn't gone the way it was supposed to be, because I know Archie's a good fighter, good boxer. But I think I'm going with Maxie on this one. I think Maxie, unanimous decision.
Yeah. And then we've got the main event. Now, this is Terri Harper's second fight at this weight, back down in a weight that she's comfortable with after being stopped by Sandy Ryan after just hanging up with the big girls a bit too long. Now, I just think that she's just going to do so well in this fight. Like, I feel like the performance is going to be there. I feel like she's going to have too much class for and maybe a level above Zimmerman on the night. Zimmerman stepping up again. I don't want to be or ridicule any boxer outside of obviously England. I don't want to do that, but she's not fought of anyone of note to me. Like if you go back on her record, there's not many winning records on there neither. I think it's a big fight. It's a big fight for her. And the thing about Terri is, and I want to say this about, I've got so much respect and admiration for someone like Terri. She lives the athletic life. She lives a professional life. She's a great role model for boxing, young boxers. I follow her on like the social medias. I've done the hill sprints with her and Jimmy on Saturday mornings, early Saturday mornings when I used to be at St. Peter's. And I've watched her train. I've watched her do so honestly, you don't understand that this woman, like, she does not get the credit in boxing that she deserves. Like, she's such a credit to the sport. And I think this is her, like, she deserves this homecoming show. I think she's going to put in a really good performance. I feel like after the Sandy Ryan, she had a bounce back fight with Rhiannon Dixon. Is it Rhiannon Dixon? Under her old amateur coach, Paul DeRose, who was a great amateur coach. He was the main coach at St. Peter's before the likes of myself and CJ turned up, and after he sort of like called it a day, Steffi Bull pulled him back out of like sort of retirement as of such, brought him into Terry's corner, and that was his first. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what now Paul can do with Terri. I'd like to see her back at those, like where she's a bit lighter on her feet, a bit more combinations in flurries, and she used to have that very attractive, good aggressive style, and she was very smart with it. So I'm expecting a big performance, and I really want her to perform well because, like you said, there's some big fights out there for her, and she deserves them. Like, she really does. She deserves those big paydays, and she deserves to be up there amongst those Kate Taylors and people like. Because if you look at Terry's record, it's not like been padded. You've got Cecilia Burkess, which arguably she won that fight. They've got the Natasha Jonas draw, which, you know, again, it very controversial either way.
Those two fights for me, both those two fights for me were draws. I didn't have an issue with neither of those two fights being a draw. The Natasha fight, I didn't believe Terri won it. I think at best Terri got a draw out of that fight. At best, if anyone won it, I'd have led to Natasha. The Breakhouse fight, I think I was there for that fight, and that had a draw all over it. Before the announcement, I said to my mate next, I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a draw. I really would not be surprised. That was a draw. But like you said, Terry's level of opponent has been there. The Sandy fight, Sandy too big, too strong for Terry. I don't believe. I looked at the ring walk in that, and obviously, just as a fan, you're looking for little things. It might not mean anything, but I said to my missus at the time when I was just like, I don't think this lasts long. Like, for me, how Terry's coming out, she doesn't look like she really wants to be there. I've seen Terry's ring walks. I've been live at Terry's ring walks.
Yeah.
So watching that ring walk, and I was just like, she's not. I feel like she's going to get stopped. But I rate Sandy Ryan. You didn't get stopped again. You haven't been stopped against fighters you shouldn't be getting stopped or who isn't good. The Alicia Baumgartner stoppage. Alicia Baumgartner is undisputed champion right now.
Yeah,
she's an unbelievable fighter. So the fights Terry has drawn and the fights Terry has lost, it's been to world level fighters. It's been to world level fighters. She's performed on the world stage for a long time. So her homecoming in front of her home crowd, everything. I think hopefully Terry can put on an absolute brilliant performance and go into that Caroline fight. I'm fingers crossed that is what's next for her. They can go into that Caroline fight full of confidence and hopefully can take care of the business or put, give a British females fight of the year. You know what I mean? That's what we want to see. We want to see competitive fights. We want to see fighters in there. And I think lately the British fighters have been proving that. I think the shows we've seen lately from the British guys is they've proven that this isn't just about money for them. It's not just it's about pride. It's about accolades. It's about wanting to win and entertaining the fans.
Yeah, exactly that. And just touch on that before we bow out, because we're gonna have to bow out pretty soon. It's been a great episode 20. And I just want to say, on the back of the really devastating news of
Georgia.
Georgia O'Connor. Just anybody out there, obviously we're just fans, and we're just trying to do this. In life, we spend too much time worrying about like certain things, pressures of life as work and everything else. Don't live your life. Try and do something you love, and really try and do something you enjoy, because as proven today at 25-year-old, life can be cut so short. So just try not to have any regrets. Try not to dwell on things too much. Try and remove any toxicness from your life, and just try and live a good life, people. And just honestly, just don't ever give up. Just try and do what you love and enjoy doing it.
Yeah, do it. Whatever you love doing, do it as much as you can, much as possible. Whatever life is throwing at you, that one thing you love doing, whether it's talking about football, boxing, doing either or, it takes your mind off of all of that, where you can just be yourself. And like we do twice a week, I say twice a week, me and Ricky on the phone near enough every day for hours, just talking. So listen, as long as we're talking about boxing, we're in a good mood, we're in a happy mood, and I hope we project that onto you guys who are watching and listening to us right now. But thank you to everyone who tuned in to the show. Thank you to Adam Smith for coming on and giving us an absolute brilliant interview and making my day, Ricky's day, and I'm sure as hell I'm sure as hell he will. It'll be the same for CJ and Ricky. You need to clip that bit where Adam was giving you and Leo some advice as well, because that's something to savor. If anything, out of this interview. But guys, we've got to bounce. Rico will be live with Caroline Dubois in about 5 minutes. So don't disappear or go for a cuppa or something, but tune back into iBoxingHub, where Caroline Dubois will be interviewed by Rico in the next 5 minutes. See y'all on Tuesday after the fight. Hopefully I can get some footage from the fights on Friday. But thank you, everybody. Peace and good night. Appreciate